तमाम सिपाहियों बटालियन में पनकोट को जाएंगे लेकिन तुम नहीं। कर्नल साहब बहादुर जाएंगे लेकिन तुम बॉम्बे में रहोगे। तुमने किस वास्ते आपके साथियों से भाग गए ताकि दुश्मन के साथ लड़ना। हवलदार करीम मुजफ्फर खान, तुम खुद नमक हलाल नहीं था। आपके पलटन को शर्म लाया और अफसोस कर्नल साहब के दिल को। सुबह को तुम्हारा सख्त शर्म जानता है। कर्नल मैम साहब और दोनों लड़कियों भी, सुजन मैम और सारा मैम, शर्म से खामोश हो गई। जंगली कुत्ते पहाड़ियों में चुप हो गए हैं और तुम्हारा आरत भी अपना सिर ऊंचा नहीं उठेगी, कभी नहीं। I've finished with this man. Take him away.
Sir, attention! Prisoner escort, right, 10! Quick, march! Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right! Left, right, left, right!
The Havildar arrived here in Bombay 3 days ago with other ex-prisoners of war. He's named in several of their depositions for collaborating in prison camp with the enemy as a member of the Freihind, the German INA. Thank you for sitting in on the interrogation, Captain Purvis, and for the loan of your sergeant.
God!
The officer has amoebic dysentery, I believe. Were you able to follow the interrogation, Sergeant?
Yes, sir.
It was necessary to have a witness with fluent Urdu. No officer with this qualification was available, but Major Beamish in field security spoke very highly of you. Are you stationed in Bombay?
At Kalyan, sir. I came in to report to Captain Purvis for special duty.
Captain Purvis is not your officer.
No, sir. I only met him today. My officer's away.
Then it's fortunate you were available. I gather from Major Beamish that you have a degree in history with a special interest in this country. Did you study any Urdu at university?
Not systematically, sir. I learned some in vacations and practiced with a fellow student during term.
An Indian fellow student?
Yes, sir.
It's not much use, of course. Bazaar Hindi is usually sufficient. In my old job, at least.
What job was that, sir?
The Indian police. I suppose you were at a public school before university.
Yes, sir.
Which public school?
Chillingborough, sir.
This would have been before the war. Perhaps you remember an Indian boy there who called himself Harry Kumar.
Harry Kumar. Yes, sir.
Actually, Harry Kumar, of course. Did you know him closely? Enough to have learned his attitudes and interests?
Well, actually, sir, I don't remember him being interested in anything very much, except cricket.
Cricket? I'm afraid his interest in India extended beyond that. His expensive education turned out to be pretty much of a waste, as often happens in such cases. He was arrested with 5 of his friends in 1942 on a serious criminal charge. They wriggled out of it. But fortunately, there was sufficient evidence to imprison them on political grounds.
Was it you who arrested him, sir?
Yes, it was. Indeed, it was. And, what did you make of Havildar Karim Muzaffar Khan, Sergeant Perron?
He seemed fairly harmless to me, sir.
Like Harry Kumar?
Well, sir, I don't remember Kumar very well.
Ah, feeling better?
Not noticeably.
I could give you something which would deal with that.
I've probably already had it. In every sense, that is.
I see. Thank you, Sergeant Perron.
Sir.
And thank you, Captain Purvis.
thank God for that. What did Major Beamish tell you about this job tonight?
Only to report to you, sir, and to bring a change of clothes so that I shouldn't be recognized as field security. I've got those in here, sir.
Civis.
No, sir, my Army Education Corps gear.
That'll do.
Who is Major Merrick, sir? I notice he has the DSO.
Has he? Frosty's sort of bugger, wasn't he? Oh, my God.
Sir?
Shoes. Have you got shoes, Sergeant?
In my kit bag, sir, with the uniform.
Thank God for that.
What's this party, sir? The party we're going to this evening?
Actually, I don't think I'm going to make it. You'll have to go alone. It's all to do with security in this zipper operation. So-called.
Sir?
Security. Doesn't it make you weak? Bloody armada assembled out there for anyone to see whenever you can see through the monsoon mists. Everything ready to go, obviously to Malaya, obviously for a seaborne invasion, and some silly bastard worried about security. Does that strike you as amusing, Sergeant?
Yes, sir. Actually, I tend to see the war as a rather amateur production, sir.
What do you mean?
Under-rehearsed and overlong, sir. Sorry, sir.
How did you come into Bombay? Have you got transport?
No, sir, not today.
That's mine over there. You hop in the back. I'm billeted in a block of flats near the Oval.
Sir.
For God's sake, look where you're bloody going!
I do apologize.
Why?
Well, the officer couldn't have seen you. I'm afraid he isn't very well.
It wasn't me he bumped into. It was Nazimuddin. Thank you for apologizing for him.
She's gone down with Nazimuddin to hold the taxi for us. Is John ready, Arthur?
He's coming, Philly. No need to flap.
Oh, can we help you, Sergeant?
I was looking for the officer who just came up, Captain Purvis.
Captain Purvis, Arthur.
Oh, next door up, in the Hapgood's flat.
That's next floor up.
Thank you.
What is he doing? Why does it take so long?
A bit slow, I think.
Sahib?
Help yourself to a drink. You'll find everything on the tray.
Thank you, sir.
Can you guess how long I've been ill, Sergeant?
No, sir.
Ever since I got off the boat. 3 months, 2 weeks, and 4 days.
Oh, bad luck, sir.
How long have you been in this bloody country?
Since 43, sir.
And before that?
Cambridge, sir. Read history.
How the hell did you avoid getting a commission?
By always saying no, sir.
I'm sorry, but that is very ironic. This party is in the house of an Indian lady off the Marine Drive. There'll be no difficulty about you going in my place. It's the kind of flat where officers and men fraternize, not to mention white, black, and in between. Sexually, I'd say some of the company is on the ambivalent side. Will that worry you?
I don't think so, sir.
There'll be some girls there as well, if you can sort them out.
Apart from unambivalent girls, sir, what else should I look out for?
As far as I'm concerned, Sergeant, this whole thing is an utter waste of time. You're not going to arrest anyone, are you? At least not for spying. This all happened because I made a casual remark to some damn fool officer about a weird party I'd been at, where I'd heard a lot of careless talk about the zipper invasion landing somewhere near Port Swettenham. Next thing I know, I'm hauled in by your Major Beamish and told I'll have to go back with a field security chap in disguise. I thought he was joking.
Are we landing near Port Swetnam, sir?
How the hell do I know? I'm an economist. Does it bore you to call people sir?
No, sir. What is your actual job, sir, if I may ask?
You may well ask. I ask myself. All I can tell you is I'm waiting for a call from Delhi that never comes. India. My God. Why don't we give it back, eh? Sell it off to the highest bidder. Now we've got a Labour government at last, perhaps we shall.
Wouldn't that be rather unfair, sir? Selling out, I mean. Historically, we have some moral obligation, surely.
Moral obligation? For heaven's sake, Sergeant, you've been in India, what, 2 years? It's taken me no more than 3 months to write it off as a wasted asset. Ruined by expendable buggers from the upper and middle classes who come out here to chuck their weight about. Have you ever felt the only way to survive a war was to treat it as totally unreal?
The thought has struck me, sir.
Ever succeeded?
From time to time.
I envy you. I don't seem to have the capacity. 6 years of criminal waste. History, you said. Seriously, or just a way of spending your gilded youth?
I intend to continue.
Well, it's different for you. You can make history into a study of human folly. Sometimes I feel I shall never be able to forgive the waste. I had a breakdown, you know, 2 years ago.
I'm sorry to hear that, sir. What did the doctors say about your illness, sir?
I haven't seen any.
Do you think that's wise?
Yes, I do. I can't afford to be ill, Sergeant. Not for a day, not for an hour. I'm waiting for that message and about a 50-50 chance of salvaging something from the utter waste and ruin of my career. I'm waiting for Delhi.
Are those your paintings, sir? Behind you?
Nothing's mine. I'm only billeted. Everything belongs to the bloody English bank official who owns this flat.
They're 18th century in the Basoli style. I wonder if he knows how valuable they are.
I shouldn't think so. His lady wife would have locked them up. Personally, I wouldn't know a work of art from a bee's arse. Why should one bit of coloured canvas be worth thousands and another? Sod all. Would you mind freshening this?
Not at all, sir.
With rum, and fix another for yourself.
I think I'd better keep a clear head, sir, for the party.
I'll write you a note. And you can take a bottle of some very special whiskey I brought with me from England and present it to our hostess. Not that I think you'll have any trouble getting in. She's a Maharani, incidentally.
Really, sir?
And lives in a place called the Sea Breezes, would you believe? So, pop on this disguise of yours and have a look-see.
Sir.
Hello.
Hello. I've got a note in a package.
For me?
From...
Oh, it's for Auntie. What a jolly shame. But please, do come in.
Thank you.
Auntie has been resting. But she's finished now. She says it is good for me to welcome guests. Once I was very shy, but I'm not anymore. Oh, what is your name? Then I can tell Auntie who it is.
Perham. Sergeant Perham.
Come here. Come closer. I can't see who you are.
Your Highness, we haven't met. I've brought you this and a note from Captain Purvis.
Captain Purvis. He must be one of Jimmy's friends. When Jimmy's in Bombay, he brings so many people.
He sent a bottle of rather special whiskey.
Whiskey. Leonard Purvis. Who is this Leonard Purvis? What is your first name?
Guy. There's also Percival, but I'm not at all keen on it.
Names are a terrible problem. It's best to make them up. Will you stay to my party?
Thank you.
It may be boring. It's difficult to tell. It depends on who comes. Anyway, tonight, Anila tells me it has begun well. What do you do?
Very little, I'm afraid.
What a relief. People are always dashing about. Where are you staying?
At a place called Kalyan.
Ah, then you're on Zipper. Nearly all the people who come here nowadays are on Operation Zipper. Anila will take you in and get you a drink. You must ask her to dance.
Thank you, Your Highness.
And you must call me Amy. Bandy and I are divorced, but I keep the title. Servants and shopkeepers like it. Anila, do stop hovering and take this young man in.
Yes, Auntie. Please, will you come?
And tell one of the boys to bring me a glass.
Yes, Auntie. What will you have to drink? Auntie says all sergeants like beer. But there was one the other night who asked for White Lady.
Were you able to oblige him?
Oh, yes. It takes ages. You have to put the glass in the refrigerator.
Good evening. We meet again.
Do you know each other? I'm awfully glad. I'm so bad at names.
Perron.
Sarah Layton.
Miss Layton, do you want to powder your nose?
Thank you.
Please, join the guests, Mr. Pera. Auntie says men can always introduce themselves. And I will show Miss
Layton.
Miss Layton where to powder her nose.
Thank you.
Please.
Come in, young man. Come in.
I'm afraid I'm an interloper.
There are no interlopers at Amy's parties. They are the rule. Allow me to introduce myself, Dmitri Granovsky.
Sergeant Perron.
This is my secretary, Mr. Ahmed Qasim, younger son of Mr. Mohammed Ali Qasim, a celebrated politician of whom you may have heard.
How do you do?
And Mr. Ronald Merrick,
Excuse me, sir.
of the Indian police, but at the moment employed as a major in the Punjab regiment.
Good evening, Sergeant.
Sir.
Now, what does this mean? AEC.
Army Education Corps.
And how does one educate an army?
One tries to find ways of stopping it from being bored.
You have qualifications? A degree?
Yes, sir.
You should stay in India after the war. We're short of teachers. In our own college in Meerut, for instance.
Are you its principal, sir?
I? No.
Count Branovsky is the chief minister to the ruler, the Nawab of Meerut.
The Hindu college was one of my first innovations. Before that, there was only the Muslim Academy, which taught boys to recite the Quran and turned out tax collectors. If Ahmed here will forgive me. Not that he had such a traditional Islamic training, did you?
What?
Incorrigible. He seldom listens to conversations. He comes to parties only to drink as much whiskey as he can and to make up to the prettiest girls. And here are two. Anela, my dear. Was I in error in supposing your aunt said 7? Now, where is Amy?
Oh, no. Auntie's parties begin when people arrive. But I'll tell her to hurry. Raju, please take what you want.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you know Mr. Perron of the Army Education Corps?
Yes, we introduced ourselves in the hall. Thank you.
Am I right in supposing that our hostess is somewhat unorthodox?
Unorthodox, yes.
Your father must be the Congress statesman, M.A.K.
Yes, he is.
Are you in Bombay for long?
A few days.
It must be very interesting working for a Nawab's chief minister. Is Count Branovsky what we used to call a white Russian, an emigre?
Yes.
A soldier? I wondered about his loss of an eye.
He says his carriage was blown up by a revolutionary on his way to the Winter Palace.
Has he been in Mirat long?
About 25 years. Before he came, the state was quite feudal. It's been a good influence on the Nawab.
Does, Miss Layton have any connection with Mirat? She and the Count seem to be old friends.
She visited once. Her sister got married there.
She lives in Bombay.
No, Pankot.
Pankot?
Why, do you know it?
Well, in his regiment, the 1st Pankot. I saw a man today.
Her father was CEO of the 1st Battalion. She's in Bombay to meet him. He's been a prisoner of war in Germany.
So, Colonel Layton's back in India now, then?
Yes, I think...
Darling, what are you doing in Bombay? Oh, darling, is it true what Lottie told me about your poor brother, Syed?
Hey, Sarge. Do you reckon then, eh?
Reckon?
You know, I mean, it doesn't look like it. What did they rush you for the booze?
They don't usually free at parties. Are you on your own?
No, I'm with him. Come here. What do you mean, parties? Isn't this Amy's?
That is the hostess's first name?
The rotten bastard. Well, they told us this was Amy's. Flat number 2. 6 chips each.
I think you're the victim of a practical joke.
Dead right. Well, maybe we'd better blow before we get chucked out.
I don't think you will be. Thank you. Hold on to these, you'll be less conspicuous.
Cheers, Sarge.
Cheers.
Hey, take a deco of that one over there. Hey, Sarge. Do you think they'd mind if we, said hello?
I think they'd be delighted.
Right, come on, Jim. Let's try our luck. Thanks, Sarge.
Corporal. A bit of advice from my old sergeant major. Beware the mysteries of the Orient.
Don't worry about us, Sarge. We know the game. Will we save you one, eh?
No, thank you.
A word with you. Are you on duty?
Yes, sir.
I take it this disguise is permitted.
In certain circumstances, yes, sir.
Always a bit risky, though, isn't it? For instance, Miss Layton has just told me about her meeting with you earlier this afternoon. In your other uniform.
Not in anyone else's hearing, I hope, sir.
No, but quite properly she thought I ought to know. Are you expecting Captain Purvis?
No, sir.
Will you go back to his flat?
I shall have to, sir, to change.
I was thinking of making our excuses and taking Miss Layton home. Can you tell me if the reasons for your presence here are likely to become apparent through some kind of unpleasantness?
I'm not sure I understand you, sir. It's all fairly routine from my point of view.
Routine? I sympathize with you, Sergeant, if this is routine.
Well, I don't mean the party, sir. I mean my reasons for being at it.
You see nothing odd about the party, then?
A bit noisy, sir? Of course, it does have an unusual aspect. Other ranks mixing with officers, but of course I knew that, sir, before I came.
I begin to wonder about your powers of observation, Sergeant. Have you an identity card with you?
Yes, sir.
Would you show it to me if I asked to see it?
No, sir.
If I ordered you to?
No, sir.
Let me put it to you, Sergeant. I have seen you in one place, apparently bona fide, but here I find you in another role, and in the most unsavory surroundings. I have suspicions about your true identity. I ask you to show me your card. You refuse. I call another officer to ring for the military police. What then?
Presumably, I should be arrested, sir.
And then?
And then, sir, we should see.
Major Beamish was right.
About what, sir?
About your being a tough nut to crack. I only wanted to find out how easy it would be to force you to act against your better judgment.
May I ask why, sir?
Not here. I would like to caution you to observe discretion on 2 other matters. I would ask you to say nothing to Miss Layton about Havildar Karim Muzaffar Khan. In fact, nothing at all about the circumstances in which we met earlier today. The other taboo subject, at least in front of Miss Layton, is Hari Kumar. Will you remember that?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Penna? Mr. Penna? Mr. Penna? Where is the sergeant?
Over there.
Oh, here you are.
What is it?
Thank goodness you're still here. Auntie's asking for you. Please come quickly. She's in a terrible temper and won't come out. So embarrassing with all these people here.
I expect we shall be here for a while.
Please, Sergeant, come to Auntie. Quickly do.
Shut the door! Cannot stand it!
Please, Auntie, don't shout. People will hear.
How can they hear? They're making so much noise, I cannot hear myself speak. Taste it. Taste it! What is this perverse creature trying to do? Poison me! You see? It's disgusting. Taste it. The taste is even more disgusting than the smell. Anila, why are you standing there doing nothing? Get Mr. Perrin a glass.
Actually, Your Highness, it's a very fine and rare old malt whiskey. An acquired taste, admittedly.
It's disgusting. What is keeping you, Anila? I said bring Mr. Perrin a glass.
I'm bringing it, Auntie. Here. Here I am.
Pour him one. Well, is it not disgusting?
Not to my way of thinking, Your Highness. It might seem a little smoky, but that's part of its charm to people who like it.
They must be depraved then. They're all barbarians who come to my parties.
Surely, Your Highness.
Who else is here? Anila tells me nothing.
Well, I think several who are not barbarians. There's a charming English girl and...
How can she be charming? I detest English girls. They're always so stupid and rude. They come out here because in England they are nobody and wouldn't be looked at twice. Anila, the party is cancelled. Tell the servants to lock up the drinks. Tell them to go to bed. I'm ill, poisoned by this perverse creature.
Auntie, what can I say to everybody?
And take that bottle and drink it yourself if you like such stuff.
Very well, Your Highness. I'm sorry if anything...
Only take it. I cannot stand the smell. We leave Bombay tomorrow. It is full of sponges and hangers-on.
Oh, Auntie.
Why have we come away?
I'm afraid the Maharani didn't like the whiskey I gave her from Captain Purvis.
Oh? What was wrong with it?
Nothing, in my opinion. It was old sporran.
It's a genuine thing. How extraordinary. My father was talking about it only the other day.
Poor Amy. She has never been able to make up her mind what she really wants from life. My most abject apologies for the failure of the evening. May I offer you and Miss Layton some entertainment for what is left of it?
That's very civil of you, Count. But Miss Layton has a tiring journey ahead of her tomorrow.
I understand. What about you, Mr. Perron?
Well, thank you, sir, but...
What the sergeant means, Count, is that he must get back to camp. He has no late pass. I have agreed to drop him off there.
Ah.
I hope you understood. I made that offer whilst we were at the party.
More or less, sir.
A lift back to camp seems the least we could do. You saved Miss Layton the embarrassment of finding the drinks locked up and the servants gone. I find it inexplicable.
It is India. I hope, Mr. Merrick, you are not plagued still by such incidents as occurred when you were in Meerut. Stone, the Wailing Widow. Has all that sort of thing died down?
Yes, thank you.
I'm glad. For our part, we've had no further visit from the venerable Pandit Baba. It was the boy's aunt, I think, whom he brought with him to the station on that occasion. You never met the girl's aunt, Lady Manners, did you?
No. Does your driver remember which block? We're almost there.
If you are ever in Meerut, a note to the Izzat Bagh Palace will always find me, even if we're up at Nanura. Good night, Mr. Perron.
Good night, sir. Thank you.
Good night, Cassie.
Good night, Mr. Cassim.
Good night.
I often think of Murat and our ride together that morning. Do you still go out regularly?
Not as often as I should. Goodbye, Miss Layton.
Goodbye.
Come down to the Graces' flat when you're ready. It's on the first floor.
Yes, sir.
Count Bronovsky, I would have liked you to meet my father, but Aunt Fanny and Uncle Arthur have persuaded him to go out, and I'm afraid they won't be back yet.
I understand. And you have the journey tomorrow. Please give my kindest regards to your mother and, of course, to your sister, too. And I hope your father will be fit again very soon. Au revoir, Miss Layton.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Count, for a most interesting evening.
Good night, Major Merrick.
Sir, what to do, what to do?
What?
Come, sir, come.
What happened?
Sir, Parasav's drunk, sleeping.
Captain Purvis? Captain Purvis, it's Sergeant Perron. Captain Purvis?
Bathroom, Sahib.
Captain Purvis, are you all right, sir? I'll have to break it in.
No, Sahib, no.
I'll write a chit for the door. Christ. Help me, grab his feet. Wait. The bedroom.
Sahib, dead?
I don't know. Come on, in the bedroom. Get a towel, quick. Right, now you go downstairs to the first floor. Ring Colonel Grayside's bell. Ask for Major Merrick. Anyone, you understand?
Ji, Sahib.
Wait. Say, doctor, ambulance, Purvis type, quick. Go on. Come on, sir.
That's done. He's on his way to hospital in the blood wagon. Simpson says he'll be all right, and you did a splendid job. I don't think you need worry further about Captain Purvis. When he's recovered, they'll hand him over to the psychiatric people. Kangra painting, isn't it?
I wish I'd kept quiet about it. Perhaps you'd have left them alone. I think this was the cause.
Area Command Delhi, mission cancelled. Await further orders. Southeast Asia Command. Doesn't seem much.
I think he just had enough.
How many of those have you had now?
This is my third.
You'll suffer from delayed shock. I think you should get your proper clothes and come downstairs and clean up. Miss Layton's invited us for a meal.
Has she, sir? Then I'll come.
You will remember which subjects are taboo downstairs, won't you?
The Havildar and Harry Kumar.
Good.
Perhaps you'd tell me what Kumar did, sir.
He and his friends raped an English girl. I was amazed that Count Branovsky thought fit to mention it in front of a woman.
I find it difficult to imagine Kumar raping anybody, sir.
But you didn't really know him. Are you one of those people who thinks that if you teach an Indian the rules of cricket, he'll become an English gentleman?
Hardly, sir. I know quite a few Englishmen who play cricket brilliantly and are absolute shits.
Do you? I think it might be a nice gesture to take the whiskey and give it to Miss Layton, seeing as her father is so fond of it.
Good idea, sir.
And then I'll take you back to camp. By the way, I'm arranging to have you attached to my department. You'll get the signal at Kalyan tomorrow.
That's very kind of you, sir, but I don't think my department will allow that.
I think you'll find they're overruled. We mustn't keep Miss Layton waiting, must we? Shall we go down?
I'll just get my bag, sir.
The subject of the Havildar is taboo because it would upset Colonel Layton.
Havildar's in his regiment, sir?
Correct. Neither he nor Miss Layton know that I've questioned the man. Colonel Layton believes, of course, that he could straighten things out with him in a few minutes. But I'm against that. Isolation breaks the prisoner's will, increases the readiness to talk. Shall I relieve you of that? Sarah! I've got Sergeant Perron here.
Hello. Are you all right?
I think he's still a bit groggy.
If you are, I don't wonder. I'll show you where you can freshen up.
Thanks.
Father's come home early, Ronald. He was feeling rather tired. Would you like to go and sit with him?
Of course.
It's in here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do bathe or shower if you want to. There's a large green towel on the rail that hasn't been used. If you want to borrow anything, I'm sure Father wouldn't mind.
Oh, it's very kind of you, Miss Layton. But I've got a change of clothes in here. My correct uniform. The one you saw me in this afternoon.
Yes, of course. I'll leave you to it, then. How hungry are you?
Oh, not really at all.
Well, you should eat. Aunt Fanny thought we'd all be out, so I'm afraid there's only some cold chicken and salad. And what Aunt Fanny calls a shape.
But I'm rather partial to shape.
Good. Well, Nazimuddin can bring you a drink. Or perhaps you'd prefer some of your whiskey.
I rather think I've had enough. Major Merrick suggested we should make a present of it to your father. Will he be insulted by the leftovers?
Not at that whiskey. How very kind of you. Just come along when you're ready.
Okay.
What is it, Ronald?
Well, you've been so long, I thought our sergeant friend was suffering some reaction.
Actually, sir, we've been discussing the attractions of Blancmange.
Oh, you're having shape again, then? Well, if it's one of the sergeant's favourite afters, we'll let him get changed.
Thank you, Ronald.
Bugger you too, Merrick.
Sahib.
Feeling better?
Yes, thank you.
Father, this is Sergeant Perrin. My father, Colonel Layton.
Good evening, sir.
Hello. Take a seat, Sergeant.
Yeah, you've been in the wars a bit tonight.
Well, the evening has been rather hectic, yes, sir.
Mine too. Well, I give the rest of it a miss. Perrin. There was a Perrin at the school I was at. Younger than me, before the First World War, at Chillingborough.
That would have been my father, sir.
Was indeed. So you're Perrin's son, then? I don't suppose I've thought of him since I left. Is he still going strong?
He was killed in 1918, sir.
Oh, sorry. And your mother?
She died in 1919 of Spanish flu.
Oh, poor fellow. Still, you'd be too young to remember anything about that, I imagine.
Yes, sir. No, thanks, sir. Actually, I had a very pleasant childhood. I was brought up by a rather eccentric aunt.
Eccentric enough to send you to Chillingborough?
Yes, sir.
A fine athlete. Perrin.
I think your father's tired, Sarah.
Ronald thinks you're tired, Father. Are you?
Not in the least. I tell you what I'd like, though. A peg of that whiskey of Ronald's. Why don't we all do that?
It wasn't Ronald's whiskey, Father. It was Sergeant Perrin's. And before that, a Maharani's. Nazimuddin Whiskey Laye.
That's so. Why, I'm very grateful, whoever it was. Extraordinary thing. The name of that particular brand came up in the last conversation I had in camp. I was saying goodbye to Oberleutnant, and he said he'd think of me in future sitting in a comfortable room, sipping Old Sporran and reading Pride and Prejudice. Apparently, I told him a few months before that's what I dreamed of doing when I got home. He remembered it so accurately. I must say, I found that rather touching. Something one says quite casually, capturing another chap's imagination, staying in his mind. A nice fellow. Very correct, very formal, but fair. Yes, very fair.
Will you join us for supper, Father?
What?
Supper?
Oh, no. Have my supper. In any case, I've still got the unexpired portion of the day's ration if I get peckish.
Supper in 10 minutes, Nazimuddin. Before 3.
Extraordinary. I haven't held a bottle of this for years. I remember my father saying,
Come on, Daddy. You've had a long day.
yes. I think I'll turn in, if you'll excuse me. Glad we met.
Good night, sir.
Anyway, he wasn't really sleepy. Just tired of company. He said he'd read for a while.
Jane Austen.
Probably. I'm afraid he was talking again about the Havildar.
It's quite pointless. A complete waste of time.
I know, but it's for you to explain.
I thought I had.
I'm sorry. We're talking of something you know nothing about. There's a Havildar in my father's regiment who apparently joined the Freihind in Germany. Father wants to see him, but Major Merrick says it's impossible. There's an order prohibiting contact between INA prisoners and their officers.
It's not as though your father's opinion won't be asked for. Or someone will come up to Pancott and take a statement from him at the proper time.
Will the person coming up be you, Ronald?
Possibly. Would you like me to speak to your father now? Now, there'll be no opportunity tomorrow before you catch the train. And as Aunt Fanny isn't here, she won't be hurt if I refuse the shape.
I should be very grateful, if you wouldn't mind.
Very well. Nazimuddin can give my helping to the sergeant. It'll build him up. Not that he looks starved exactly, but then sergeants seldom do.
We'll hold coffee for you. Does it seem strange?
Thank you.
My father's concern. Hill regiments are very close-knit. My father can look at the nominal roll and draw a family tree of nearly every man in it. Does that strike you as silly?
No. Admirable.
And sad. Wouldn't you say sad? Particularly if you'd seen most of them die and the rest carted off as prisoners.
Yes, very sad.
At Chillingborough, do you remember someone? A boy called Harry Coomer.
Harry Coomer?
Or Nigel Rowan?
Nigel Rowan. Yes. But only as one of the minor figures on Olympus would have known Zeus. Came out here in the army, didn't he? As he was always walking away with classics prizes, I thought that rather a curious choice. Does he still have what I recall as a very detached and patrician manner?
I think it is only a manner. Will you have some jam? It makes it taste a little.
Yes, it does need something. What does your uncle, Colonel Grace, do exactly?
He runs a course for young officers to attract them into the civil or the police when the war's over.
Does he have much success?
More in Bombay than Calcutta. He expects even more now Labour's won the election in England.
Yes. I suppose some people think the prospects at home are pretty bleak now. But aren't they even worse over here?
It depends. If Uncle Arthur's right and there's a prolonged handing over period, he says the Indians will be glad to have experienced Englishmen working with them. I don't think he is right. I don't think there will be a long handing over period.
Why?
Because that would be the logical thing. I think the whole situation's become too emotional for logic to come into it.
And how will you feel about it when it happens?
I don't think I'll want to stay on.
Why, especially?
I don't think it's a country one could be happy in.
You'd be happy in England?
Probably not. I am sorry you don't remember Harry Kumar. Nigel does.
I think that settled it. I hope he understands the problem better now. But I think we'll skip coffee too, if you don't mind. I've got rather a lot of work to do back at the hotel, and before that, of course, I've got to drop the sergeant off at Calliam. If you're ready.
Perhaps Mr. Perrin would like some more shape.
But thank you very much.
It wasn't very good, was it? Oh, incidentally, my father asked me to make sure you know how grateful he is for the whiskey. And he's sorry he was so much under the weather.
Well, I hope he feels better soon.
I'll call for you tomorrow and take you to the station.
Thank you, Ronald. Until tomorrow, then. Goodbye, Mr. Perrin.
Goodbye.
Don't forget your pack.
No, I won't. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I'm grateful for the lift. Good night, sir.
One case you'll find very interesting when you join me is that of the brother of the young Indian you met tonight.
Ahmed Kasim.
His brother Syed went over to the INA in Malaya. Intriguing when you remember that his father is an ex-chief minister. Right. I'll see you in a couple of days then, at the most.
Oh, no, you won't. You bloody well won't.
I say, how nice, how very nice. You never told me about the third stripe.
It's very recent.
All the same, Sergeant. Jolly good.
Would you like a bacon sandwich?
A cold bacon sandwich?
I got them in Rampur last night at the station restaurant.
Did you now? Then you ought to have a crown as well. all this?
After we'd had dinner, while you were with the men. It's a surprise breakfast. Have a hard-boiled egg first.
That too? No, I'll have a sandwich first. They taste better on the train. Something to do with the soot and the smoke. I've been taking a breather. First sent to the hills. In the old days, we used to stop here, get up a hill of steam. 2 hours to Pancot, if she sticks to the timetable.
Tea all right, Daddy?
Dark and sweet. Remember our morning rides together? Must do that again soon.
Afraid I'm rather out of practice.
All the more reason. I haven't thanked you yet for all you've done for me while I've been away. Aunt Fanny told me what a brick you've been.
It wasn't anything.
Such a help to your mother and Susan. And for coming to Bombay to meet me as well.
Oh, I enjoyed that.
It took rather longer than I expected. Waiting until the last few men were fit to travel. Pity the chaps from prison camp couldn't have gone together.
They'll be so excited to see the hills.
Yes.
Look! You can see the men in the other coaches. Oh, they're waving.
Yes. There are the men.
Kevin, how are you? Not so bad, sir. Good journey, had you?
Thanks, Captain Coder.
Done everything you asked. Trucks for the men, staff car for you. Your drivers here.
I hope no one was disappointed not to turn out bad.
Oh, I think quite understood. No sort of fuss.
But I'll see the men get away first. We've got a few invalids, and your driver can take us home.
I think everything's laid on in the yard. Don't suppose you've heard the latest, have you? Americans seem to have dropped some new kind of bomb. A place called Hiroshima.
Shabash.
That's a view I remember. Funny. Everything seems closer together.
Perhaps Pancot shrunk. Like your feet.
What?
You said the shoes I bought you felt too big.
Oh, yes. If you don't mind, I think I'll walk the rest. I'd prefer that.
Yes, of course.
All right. Muduroko. Itataro Jobtek Memsar. Johnny K. Jazet no data. Give me a little time to cope. Say 5 minutes.
Of course.
Still smells the same, though. Wood smoke. Better get back.
What is that village? We turned here yesterday as well.
Motorabad. Havildar Musafir Khan's village. His wife is there. Well, what can I tell her? That her husband is accused of betraying his regiment, of treason to the King Emperor. How can I, unless I've seen the man myself? I got in touch with Delhi.
And Ronald Merrick.
No go still. Perhaps I'll raise it with Pat Traherne tonight. We're dining there, you know.
The Trahernes?
They still got those dreadful dogs.
Not those dogs. Other ones.
There we are, Sarah.
Thank you.
For a pay, John. Sorry about the dogs. Probably rather have their noise than their company this evening. There we are.
How pretty Susan looks.
Well, good help.
We invited young Mr. Drew because Kevin Coley couldn't manage it. It seems he's in bed with the temperature. Actually, we're rather worried about Kevin.
Men look pretty fit.
Are you? He suddenly seems restless. After years of resisting all attempts to move him on, he appears to think something should be done about it. But I must say John looks wonderfully well. Yes, he is.
Excuse me, of course.
Young Mr. Drew is thinking of applying for a regular commission, so we think he deserves encouragement. Did you know Miss Batchelor is dead?
Did you? Major Smalley mentioned it to me this morning at the Dafter.
Lucy Smalley told me at the library. I suppose she heard it from the Peplars.
Oh, I imagine one can take it as more or less true. In any case, the mission solicitors will soon be on to ours.
What about?
The wretched annuity. The money Mabel tried to leave to Miss Batchelor in her will. Thank God I told our people to drag their feet. Thank God she went off her head when she did.
I never quite understood about annuities. Poor Miss Batchelor. I sometimes think she had a sad life.
Oh, you wouldn't if you had to cope with her, making all that macabre fuss about where Mabel should be buried, with Susan in labor, too. And Sarah was down in Calcutta visiting that man Merrick in hospital. I had to handle everything. And, of course, John's told me he never heard Mabel say a single word about where she wanted to be put. If I were you, Maisie, I'd ask Patrick to let those hounds loose. It's worrying John.
Oh, yes. Of course.
What? Can't you do much writing? Oh, what a beastly shame.
Hello?
Sarah?
Oh, hello, Nigel.
Sarah, is it convenient to ring? I got your letter. I've done what you asked.
I spoke to Reverend Mother on the telephone. But the line was bad. She said something about a parcel.
Yes, there was. I've got it here. Apparently, it's something Miss Batchelor wanted you to have.
I am sorry, Nigel. Is all this a frightful nuisance?
No, not at all. I'm to come up to Pancart, as it happens, on official business, so I'll bring it with me. How's everything with you? How was Bombay?
Bit sticky. The weather, mostly.
And your father?
Difficult at first. Much better now. I went to a very strange party and met somebody I think you know. Or knew.
Who was that?
Someone called Perrin. He's a sergeant.
Do you mean Guy Perrin?
Do you remember him?
Very well. I was told to cane him once, at school.
Apparently Merrick wants your friend Perrin to work for him. I got the impression he wasn't very keen.
Who was that?
Nigel Rowan. He's coming up to Pancot tonight.
This is a young man Sarah met in Rampur. He's one of the governor's aides. He went to Chillingborough, apparently.
Really? You mean Perrin?
No, Rowan, not your eccentric sergeant. What did he ring about?
Just something I asked him to do.
to sleep. He won't go to sleep until he said goodnight to Grandpa.
Good night, old chap.
Yeah, Minnie. Shall I pour myself a drink? Or have I held things up too long already?
We couldn't have gone in before. Sarah's been on the phone. Did you mention your eccentric sergeant to Nigel Rowan?
Mr. Perrin? Yes.
Did he remember him?
Yes, very well.
Not an imposter, then?
In spite of being a sergeant. No, Mother, not an imposter.
Hello, Nigel. Come in. Take a drink for yourself.
Oh, thank you, sir.
I'll have a whiskey and splash, if you'd be so kind. Did young Thackeray mention what all this was about?
Only that I'm to deliver a letter in Pankot, sir. Developments in New Delhi.
Confirmation of assumptions. War virtually over. So, elections.
When, sir?
Well, when do we ever do anything in this country? In the cold weather.
I suppose that's soon enough. And elections are what everybody seems to want.
Quite. Jinnah wants them. Nehru wants them. That's the only objective that Congress and the Muslim League still have in common.
And the Viceroy, sir?
Oh, yes, Wavell wants them. Pull up a pew. Cheers.
Cheers, sir.
And a united India to follow. Hindu and Muslim. The trouble is, while the Congress leaders have been in prison, the Muslim League have gone from strength to strength, dividing the country. So, the man I want to talk to heal that breach is one of the few Muslims still loyal to Congress, ex-chief minister in Ranpur.
Mohammed Ali Qasim. I thought he'd gone to ground, sir. The newspapers have been searching for him everywhere.
But he's in Pankot. And your friend Gopal knows where to find him. You'll travel on my special coat, so you'll have every comfort. Are you packed?
Sir.
They're routing out Gopal now. Oh, by the way, I'm losing you.
What, sir?
They're taking you back into the political department. You'll get your instructions in about a week's time. I knew you'd be pleased.
Well, I shan't mind a few days in Pankot first, sir. What's Gopal's role exactly?
A go-between. He and Qasim always got on well.
I take it I don't hand the letter to anyone but Mac.
No. You better wear mufti, incidentally. Let's say I won't expect you back here until a week today. Get some hill air into your lungs. By then, your posting should have come through.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for all you've done.
It's been a very happy experience.
I hope everything pans out. Today's been one of those days when one can't quite believe in it. It's a real horror, I'm told.
What, sir?
Hiroshima. Absolutely and inconceivably bloody awful.
Unexpectedly, sir?
We shan't have the answer for quite a long while. Someone said 20 years. Well, that's food for thought, isn't it? Oh, one more thing. There's a girl in Pankot. Young Thackeray assured me would make a few days up there quite an attractive proposition for you. Miss Layton.
Yes, sir.
Have you heard from her recently?
Actually, we were on the phone this evening.
Anything to do with the Havildar of her father's regiment who went over to the enemy in Germany?
No, sir.
Had a letter from her father. Did she refer at all to our friend Merrick?
Only in passing. He was in Bombay when she was.
Is he sufficiently well in with the family to help Colonel Layton have an interview with the man?
Probably, if he wants to.
Well, that's what Colonel Layton's seeking. But it seems that Merrick won't play. How much have you told Miss Layton about our view of Merrick?
Nothing specific, sir.
Did you tell her you knew Kumar?
Only at school. It came up because her father went to Chillingborough.
But she was interested in Kumar?
In quite an impersonal way, I think. As part of the price of our relations with India. whether or not he was guilty. But believing him not guilty makes the charge against us heavier, in her view.
She sounds an unusually thoughtful person.
Yes, I think she is.
Did you tell her he was free?
No, sir.
So she doesn't know you keep an eye?
No.
What will you do when you leave Rand poor? Leave everything to Gopal?
I shall have to. Kumar doesn't need much attention, coaching a few students at a few rupees a time.
Well, I hope we did the right thing.
I think so, sir. I take it the object of my trip is to get Mr. Kasim to a meeting.
Yes, you were free hand. There's the question of his elder son, of course, the INA defector.
Saeed.
I can arrange a meeting if he wants one, but nothing else on that front until the trial, of course.
Of course, sir.
Your train's 11:35.
Is everything okay?
I hope so. I never knew there was a special government house coach until tonight.
There used to be several.
What, just for the governor?
Governor, staff, secretaries, files. Government used to move to Pankot en masse in hot weather.
If you don't mind me saying so, I think that's bloody ridiculous nowadays. And there's really just the two of you tonight.
That's right.
And you can help me out, maybe. Now, I know this is sacred territory, but I've a GHQ priority just coming on the Delhi train. And according to my calculations, after you and the Indian gentleman are settled in, there's a couple of coupes going spare.
What rank is your GHQ priority?
Lieutenant Colonel. See for yourself.
Well, that's not senior enough for a possible exception, but I'll ask Mr. Gopal if he has any objections and then see how we stand.
Right.
Oh, my God.
An interesting situation has arisen.
Are we to travel in an ordinary compartment?
No, they're all full. The RTO wants us to take in some of the overflow.
This sounds to me like a confusion. Why do you call it interesting?
The overflow happens to be Merrick.
Merrick, ex-superintendent of police, now major.
Major no longer, apparently Lieutenant Colonel. Would you object?
Is it open to me? You are His Excellency's chief emissary. It is for you to say.
It could be useful. Aren't you in the least curious to see him?
Not in the least curious, Nigel. Please don't bother about me. I have my own bedding. They can make up my bunk in one of the old coupes.
Obviously, you feel strongly about it. I'd better tell the RTO it's no go.
And obviously, you want him.
Colonel Merrick, my name is Rana. I think we have a mutual friend in Sarah Layton. I already know your sergeant. How are you, Guy?
Fine, thanks, Nigel.
Chillingborough, of course.
Yes. I think we'd better get things sorted out so we can get the luggage out. There's a spare coupe with its own bath cubicle and a single bertha.
I'd be perfectly content with either, but I do have a certain handicap. The coupe would suit me very well if it's not really wanted. Then I could have my servant in with me. In any case, it's very civil of you.
Is this your servant?
This is Suleiman. There isn't much luggage. We came fairly light.
What have you got, Guy?
Just these.
We'll put you in the single berth. Let's go. Which would you like, Guy? This one, with the head of the bed arranged away from the engine, or the one next door, which faces towards?
There's nothing in between?
I'm afraid not.
Then I'll make do with this. This coach is something of an anachronism.
You could say that.
Fits
Fits what?
the general hallucinatory atmosphere I currently exist in. Thank you. Guard your property with your life, the red shadows at large. Did you ever see anything quite so damp?
camp?
Suleiman. Never mind. Oh, Sandhurst, wasn't it? Now this. ADC to HE in Ranpur. Well, here's to the successful conclusion of Operation Bunbury, which, unlike camp, I hope you understand. Well, Aunt Charlotte will have had my telegram by now. What should we allow? A month? Can I hold out, even for a month? What do they do to sergeants who murder their officers?
Hang them, I think.
Very degrading. Aunt Charlotte would prefer a firing squad. I don't suppose you've the slightest idea what I'm drivelling about, have you?
Some of the details are obscure, but oddly enough, I get the general drift. You are looking to your Aunt Charlotte to rescue you from further service with Colonel Merrick.
Very good. Fortunately, she has several friends in what are called high places. I have the utmost confidence in Aunt Charlotte's ability to arrange a priority demobilization. Especially if she works with a certain professor of modern history who's eagerly awaiting my return. Bunbury was our pre-arranged signal. Long before I heard of Major Merrick. Beg his pardon, Colonel. But it's difficult to keep up. He was a major when I met him in Bombay on Sunday, and a lieutenant colonel when I reported to him in Delhi on Thursday. I entertain the illusion that it's dangerous to be parted from him by more than a day. I go to sleep every night terrified that in the morning he'll be a full colonel or even a brigadier.
I take it you're not enamored. Why, particularly?
I do not like thee, Dr. Fell. The reason why, I cannot tell. On the other hand, I've been working out why. You see, Merrick's the man who doesn't fit. Even that arm, you know, is an invention.
What takes him to Pankot?
The case of one Havildar Karim Muzaffar Khan.
I think I know a bit about that.
Do you? You were always insufferably well informed.
Is Merrick arranging an interview for Miss Layton's father?
No. We're going up to take statements from the Havildar's former NCOs.
No chance of Colonel Layton being allowed to see him?
None at all. What's so special about Colonel Layton?
What's so special about Havildar Muzaffar Khan? The Delhi sends a half-colonel all the way to Pankot just to take statements.
That's easy. Havildar is special because Merrick chose him.
You mean as an example?
It's part of the technique of the self-invented man. Merrick looks round, his eye lights on something, and he says, right, I want him. Why else do you think I'm here? I'm a chosen one. I expect Kumar was.
Kumar?
Kumar. Don't tell me you don't remember him. Miss Layton said you did. Did you know that our friend Kumar put cricket behind him and went in for rape, and that our friend Merrick caught him at it?
Did he tell you that?
Has he got it wrong?
There are two schools of thought.
But only one school, Chillinbra. Thank you. Or so Merrick thinks. He's too middle class to realize that the show's over and that nobody in the class he aspires to cares a damn anymore about the empire and all that God the Father, God the Raj shit. Poor Kumar. Never stood a chance. An English public school education and manner, and back at her hat. No real white men left anymore. When he does come across any, he despises them. Colonel Layton, for instance.
He despises Colonel Layton. Why?
White man gone soft. Layton has everything Merrick covers, but hasn't the guts to live up to it. Tears of sorrow rather than lash of anger. Too many bloody tears altogether. God help us tomorrow.
Whose tears? Why God help us tomorrow?
He hanged himself.
Who? Colonel Layton?
No. The Havildar hanged himself. Havildar Karim Muzaffar Khan.
When?
Sometime on Sunday morning before daylight, which is why there's no chance of Colonel Leighton being allowed to talk to him.
Sergeant, come over to D Block, will you? There's been an interesting development.
There's no poor, weary, shagged out, shamed and insulted Havildar to talk to.
Shamed and insulted by whom?
Merrick, of course.
Havildar Karim Muzaffar Khan. Not a very prepossessing looking sort of a chap, was he, Sergeant?
So the real reason for the journey is to report the death to Colonel Leighton?
No. The real reason is to sustain the role. Friend of the family. Nothing brash, of course. Just a persistent air of quiet competence and authority. He's chosen the Leightons, too. But don't worry.
Worry about what?
He's choosing the Leightons. Not any one Leighton in particular. At least I shouldn't think so. So, don't worry. Or am I wrong? I rather thought Sarah Leighton referred to you with what I'd call respect and admiration. Mutual?
Yes.
Pity. I mean, for me, given half the opportunity, making a pass at Sarah Leighton was the one thing that made the prospect of Pancock bearable. Yes, well, I'd better behave.
We ought to arrange an evening, if we can. You can reach me by ringing 200.
The Governor's Hill Palace?
No. It's the guest house attached to what used to be the summer residence.
Used to be? Has the weather deteriorated?
I mean, it's not used. Shut up. Sleep well.
Thanks for the bed, Nigel.
Not at all.
Where's the NCO's mess? Thank you.
Oh. Hold on to your knickers, nurses. Look what's dropped out of the trees.
Can we help you, Sergeant?
I'm sorry to barge in. I've just arrived from Delhi. I was told I could get a billet here at the hospital annex.
Yeah, that's right. We got the message. Sergeant Perron, isn't it? My name's Potter. We got a small cushy set up here. Corporals and sergeants all in. Would you like to get some breakfast, or do you want to get your head down?
Breakfast first, I think.
No. Take a pew.
Thank you.
That's right. You can park it here, dearie. Me, Tarzan. You, Jane. I shan't introduce the rest. They're all clean living boys.
Don't pay any attention, Sarge. Just call him Sophie. Or Miss Dixon. We all get the same.
Or Mum. Mum's what I prefer.
Mum's the word, then.
Oh, look. A copper. You'd never know now, would you? Butter wouldn't melt. All la-di-da talk since they started sending them to college.
here before?
No.
The old Taverner's bungalow. Derelict now.
Look, there's someone there, on the veranda.
So there is. Good Lord. Isn't that Marley's boy?
Farika, yes.
What's the young scamp doing here? Farika! Kumidi ke kerte ho?
मैं मेम साहब के लिए नाश्ता तैयार कर रहा हूँ साहब.
Oh, for good luck. Free scoff.
What a surprise.
Picnic breakfast. In return for yours on the trade. These won't be a patch on yours. Bacon sandwiches need to mature a bit, don't they? I'm afraid these were only put down an hour ago. Oh, Fred. Smell not bad.
It's a wonderful surprise.
The boys did well. You know about our supernumerary?
Farika's friend? Is he supernumerary?
Well, he's attached himself to our strength. Well, I've seen him round the servant quarters a couple of times, but this morning I found Farika and him sleeping in the goat shed. A Hindu and a Muslim boy curled up together.
Hasn't he a home?
Probably several, or none. Trouble is, once you take notice of a boy like that, you're a fair way to having to pay for him. Marley doesn't need two boys to help him, does he?
Well, not so much now. The tennis court needs some keeping up.
Yes. I suppose it does. When are you and Susan going to get up a foursome with some young fellows?
Shouldn't be difficult.
Anyone in particular? This young ADC, for example. Nigel Rowan.
He's usually in Rampart.
Forget tennis. Any young fellow in particular, from your point of view, that I don't know about?
No. There's no one in particular, Daddy.
What about Ronald Merrick?
Ronald Merrick?
I asked because I was given to understand you might have some regard for him.
Who gave you to understand?
Your Aunt Fanny in Bombay.
I can't imagine why. Aunt Fanny? She's seen us together often enough to know. So have you, Daddy. I don't like him. It must show.
No, I didn't really think you did. But I wouldn't hold out as an expert against Fanny and your mother.
Mother? Does she think I have some regard for him?
She thought it was possible, and I wanted to be sure. Can I be sure?
Absolutely.
Why don't you like him?
Can't explain easily.
I know. Well, sounds stuffy now, but I know. He's not quite our class.
Doesn't sound stuffy at all. It's true. Class has always been important to us. Why should it suddenly stop?
He has a lot of admirable qualities.
Like what?
Like physical courage, moral too, I dare say.
I prefer a bit of moral cowardice. Or whatever it is that makes you admit there can be two sides to a question. Other points of view as well as your own. Moral courage is often the excuse people make for having rigid minds.
Yes, I suppose it can be. I grant in Ronald's case a certain inflexibility. You often find men who've had to fight their way up. He lost his parents very young, too.
You've obviously learnt a lot. More than any of us.
Only what he's told me.
Yes. But why did he tell you? That's what I wonder.
You've no idea.
None.
I'm sorry you don't like him. But at least it makes this easier. He told me because he wants to marry Susan.
Susan?
Fanny and your mother were surprised, too. They thought his interest was in you.
She's not fit to marry anyone. Let alone Ronald Merrick.
Well, the psychiatrist apparently thinks she is.
Samuels? Who told you that?
Ronald. He saw the fellow a few weeks ago when he was visiting the hospital for tests and things.
With Susan's approval?
No. He saw him before he spoke to Susan. He wanted to know what effect a proposal might have on her.
What a bloody nerve.
I thought it rather sensible.
Of course you did. You thought exactly what he planned you should think. Hope Captain Samuels gave him bloody short shrift.
I don't think so. With Ronald's disability, it seemed logical.
Beautifully logical. Absolutely square and above board.
He's very good with young Edward, too, better than I.
Better than Susan, better than any of us. But he wouldn't be marrying Edward, he'd be marrying Susan. How good will he be with her? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, too. Especially as your Aunt Fanny told me. But if it hadn't been for you, Susan would have had a complete breakdown.
She had a complete breakdown, Daddy.
I mean, might have been put somewhere.
She was put somewhere. In a room with barred windows. They thought she might hurt herself. The baby... Hasn't Mother told you?
No. I suppose I've been told what is thought I can take in. Fair enough. It's Susan who decided.
Has she? You've actually discussed it with her?
Yes. She seemed to have thought it out. All in all, I was rather impressed by what she said.
Oh, I am sorry. It was such a lovely breakfast. I've spoiled it.
No.
There's something I think you should know about me. Something that might explain why Mother and Aunt Fanny hoped it was me that Ronald wanted to marry.
No. Nothing to explain. Nothing to tell me. Better eat up. Drink up, too.
Yes, Daddy.
Quite sure you were not followed?
I left my rickshaw at the end of the road.
Mr. Cassim will see you in here. M.A.K., here is Captain Rowan.
How do you do, sir?
I am well. Please, be seated.
Thank you.
How is my old friend, Sir George?
He sends his regards, and I've brought a letter he wants you to study.
We should have some coffee, I think.
I will speak to Nita.
Thank you.
HE is concerned about the arrangements for possible elections. The position you take will be important in reducing the risk of political conflict between Muslim and Hindu opinion, even of communal violence.
Governor-ji is wanting to arrange a meeting? The last time we met was in 42. Unfortunately, he made me a proposition I had to refuse. I was on my way to Premanagar, you understand, to begin my imprisonment.
I'm afraid I can't guarantee transport in the morning, Sergeant.
No, sir, of course not.
The adjutant says he can produce two of the men we want to interview by 10:30, so if nothing's come to pick you up by 09:30, you better get a rickshaw down to the depot. Or, scrounge some transport from the NCOs here.
Very good, sir.
Are you, comfortably situated here, by the way?
Very, sir.
I spoke to one of the medical officers who helps me from time to time with this arm, and he said his NCOs had a spare billet or two. I thought you'd find it more congenial than any of the alternatives.
That was very thoughtful of you, sir.
Oh, do you expect to see your friend, Captain Rowan, again while he's in Pancot?
I've made no actual arrangement. No, sir.
Might be useful for us to know just what he's up to. Tomorrow should be very interesting as well. Good night, Sergeant.
Hello, then. Can I buy someone a drink? Anyone?
I'm sorry, Sarge. It's not strictly allowed.
What isn't?
Treating to drinks.
Why not? You bought me a beer at lunch.
Well, I could sign a chip for it, see?
Why can't I sign a chip for it?
Well, you can for yourself, but not for treating. I'm sorry, Sarge. It's a rule.
I see. I'll have a beer then.
Anyone notice a smell in here? Somebody broken wind, or is it the drains? Come to think of it, I might have smelt it before. Makes me feel quite queer, especially after the day I've had. But guess who I saw outside with Count Dracula? Miss Khyber Pass of 1935. Jumping about like 2-year-olds they were, in and out of jeeps. They'll do themselves an injury if they don't watch out. And with Golden Boy and all.
Come on, Sophie.
There's not a bad Chinese restaurant in the bazaar. We sometimes go there of an evening.
Actually, I'm not awfully keen on Chinese food.
Oh, Christ. Hark at her.
So, when did all this happen? Your sister and Ronald Merrick?
I wish I knew. She's never said anything to me, not the slightest hint. Well, I've not talked to Susan about it yet, but Father has. And apparently Ronald's talked to him.
Does your father approve?
Let's say he doesn't know Ronald well enough not to. The drawback is consent's not actually needed.
No, of course. So you have the impression it may be more or less fixed?
If it is, I want to unfix it. I hoped you might help me.
I travelled up on the train with him, as it happens.
With Ronald?
Quite by chance. He's a half-colonel now. He had Guy Perron in tow as well.
Poor Mr. Perron. So he's fixed everything. I know it's a lot to ask, but if there's anything you can do, I would be very grateful.
One's instinct isn't much to go on if it comes to interfering.
Is it only instinct, Nigel?
From the point of view of the family, I'd be concerned about the possibility, just the possibility, of his name cropping up in any future political fuss about officers suspected of exceeding their duty in 42.
I've told Father about the persecution. I think it just makes him feel sorry for the man. And naturally, Ronald's been very frank. It's part of his technique. What I meant was being able to tell Father something that I don't know, but which you might. Something in a confidential file, for instance. I may be wrong, but whenever we've talked about Ronald, I've had the feeling that you knew much more than you'd expect for a man who'd never met him. So, a file?
I should think all a file would tell you about Colonel Merrick is that he left the comparative safety of the police for active service in the army and was decorated with the DSO. Since when there's been a history of rapid promotion, no doubt well-deserved.
In which case there'd be nothing much to fear from a political fuss later if the files show him to be such a paragon. I'm sorry, Nigel. I shouldn't try to involve you. It's not your problem.
But I want you to know I do understand your concern, I mean.
Yes. And I am grateful for it. Did you bring the parcel from Reverend Mother? Barbie's things?
Yes, of course. It's here. It wasn't either bulky or heavy. Do you want to cut the string?
Oh, I always untie knots. Girl Guide economy. Unless they're difficult.
There's something else I have to tell you. I heard it from Guy Perron on the train. The havildar from your father's regiment that Merrick was questioning. I'm afraid he's dead. He hanged himself on Sunday, apparently. I believe Merrick intends to visit your parents this evening and tell your father. He's probably there now.
Yes, I expect he is. Poor Havildar. for Daddy. To Colonel Leighton's daughter, to the girl who visits me, to Gillian Waller, from a friend.
What is it?
Some lace Auntie Mabel gave her. For Barbie, too. Look. Do you see? They're butterflies caught in a web.